Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of That's a Wrap. My name is Anthony Gentry, your glorious host of the show, and I'm so glad you've joined me today. Um, there's a lot to talk about today. For those of you who don't know, this is That's a Wrap. It is a movie review podcast hosted by myself. I talk about all the latest movie news, trailers, and every week I come in and I review a film, sometimes multiple. This week, I have a good amount of trailers to talk about, a lot of trailers to talk about. I had to cut a few. And I will be reviewing The Marvels and Season 2 of Loki. So I'm very excited to talk about all that. But first, before we get into anything else, there's some news. First bit of news, I got some good news and I got some bad news. I'm going to give you the good news first. The actor strike, it's over. It's done. It's completed. Actors are going back to work like right now, which is very exciting, very cool. And I just want to say congratulations. It's been a long time coming. I think about 100 days, 118 days, something like that. Very cool, very exciting. I'm very happy about that because every actor deserves to get paid. You deserve to get paid for your work. I'm very happy to see that they have worked through the AI issue because I know that was a big stopping point between them and the AMPTP. So yeah, was really cool. Very happy about that, and yeah. So congratulations. I want to start that off just with some happy news because that's really cool. And now for some not so happy news. Or maybe, depending on how you look at it with the recent developments. But the other thing I want to talk about is Warner Brothers. Specifically, their use or treatment of Coyote versus Acme and a lot of other films that they have made and completed. So for those of you who don't know, there was a new Looney Tunes live action animated hybrid movie coming out. Had John Cena in it, Will Forte, James Gunn did the story and was producing it. The film was finished. It was done shooting. It was done like animating. Maybe they had a few things here and there, but from all accounts, it was done. It was a completed film. They had test screenings, which were off the charts high, and yet this week Warner Brothers decided to scrap it for some tax breaks. They decided, you know what? We're not going to release this film to theaters like they planned and instead get a $30 million tax break. And I hate that. That really makes me mad, to be honest. These are people who poured their heart and soul into a piece of art. Like every film is a piece of art, no matter whether you like it or you dislike it. It's art and it's an expression of someone's self. And to just diminish it to taxes, to say, you know what, I don't think we'll make money off of it. Let's just scrap it and no one can ever see it again. For me, and I know it's just a movie, but for me, it's despicable. It's deplorable. It's any other D word that you can throw at it. It's disgusting. I hate that. And I don't know why anyone would want to work with Warner Brothers after this, because they are very clearly anti-art, anti-film. And with like David Zaslav at the helm, ever since he came into office, so many Warner Brothers TV shows, movies have been scrapped. Whether it's things that have already been made, like Coyote vs. Acme, Batgirl, the Scoob Holiday Haunt film that was completed, supposed to come out last Christmas, or things that not only have been completed, but have been released. Like Westworld, this big HBO show, has just been taken off HBO Max, can't go anywhere, because they are using it for a tax break. And I just hate that. I hate that so much, because Batgirl, no matter if it's good or bad, it deserves to be seen. It deserves to be criticized, liked, loved, adored, hated, whatever. because these people worked on it. Hundreds of people worked on all these films, and yet their work will never be seen, and it's sad, and it really bothers me. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. Recently though, because of all the online backlash against them, they've decided to shop Coyote versus Acme to other streaming services, studios. So hopefully that gets picked up. I'm sure it will. I hope it's a studio because I'd love to see it in a theater. But as long as it's out there, fine by me. So yeah, at least they made one good decision with this. But anyway, let's move on to the trailers of today. I have a lot of trailers to talk about. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trailers. I was doing my research earlier, and I was like, okay, there's this and that and this. Good amount of trailers. And I sat down to do the show. I was like, let me watch the trailers one more time, get a good look. And so many trailers came out today. It's like the studios were like, you know what? We're just going to release them all today. So that's cool. It gives me stuff to talk about. So yeah, let's get into it. First trailer I want to talk about is let's go with something animated. Something nice for the family, for the kids, for the Chris Pratt fans. Garfield. The new Garfield trailer is out. I remember when it was announced. I think maybe a year ago or just months ago, when they announced Chris Pratt is voicing Garfield, and this was after he was announced as Mario, like very close together. And there were like so many memes and jokes about, oh, Chris Pratt is just voicing every animated character, and he's just gonna be Chris Pratt in all of them. I was like, haha, yeah. And man, I was not expecting to just hear Chris Pratt in this trailer. He doesn't do anything with his voice. I mean, why should he? Like, they're hiring him for his voice. If they wanted someone to sound like Garfield, they would get an actual voice actor, which they should have. But anyway, yeah, the trailer, it looks cute. I don't want to say it looks great or anything, but I really like the animation style. I really love how a lot of animated films recently have been kind of going away with that trying to be like hyper realistic look or just samey. I kind of relate to like Disney and like Pixar all have this samey look to a lot of them, and even they are moving away from that. And I really like that, and it applies here too. It reminded me a little bit of the Peanuts movie that came out in 2015. And they're releasing another one on Apple, so that'll be cool. But yeah, looks cute. The story and just the types of jokes they were making in it reminded me a lot of this like late 2000s, early 2010s kids movie, kind of like the Bill Murray Garfield that was like 2002, 2004, but in like Yogi Bear or Marmaduke, a lot of the hey, we're going to take this children's property from the 60s or whenever it was made, maybe from a comic or just a TV show, and we're going to update it for a modern audience of kids. It looks like they're doing that. Samuel L. Jackson, I forgot he was cast as Garfield's dad. He looks like he's having fun with it, so that makes me hopeful. I do want to say I hate Chris Pratt's voice. I gotta get that out there. Garfield is a fat, lazy cat. He's not this energetic guy who is always running around looking for lasagna. He's this dude who just lets things happen, and he hates moving. And so with that, you want this kind of like deep voice to voice him. You don't want someone like Chris Pratt, who is very energetic and is very hyper, and he brings that intensity to his voice. It works for some things like Emmett from the Lego Movie, but not for everything. So, yeah, I had to say that. I had to get that out there. It was weird. It was disorienting to hear that coming out of Garfield's mouth. But whatever. We'll see how it feels in the actual movie. which comes out May 24th. Be on the lookout for the review. That might be his season finale review, so that'll be interesting. But moving on, let's go into another animated tale, Inside Out 2. When this movie was first announced, I was like, why? Why is this movie being made? It feels like Pixar is just, or Disney is making Pixar do this to get a quick buck. The first Inside Out was so good, it does not need a sequel. But the trailer came out, I watched it. What I think? They didn't give us much, so I can't really like give a whole like fully thought out opinion. But it looked cute. It looked fine. It did look better than I expected. I do like the addition of a new emotion. I know they are going to add like envy and a few other not disgust. That's already in there. But a few other emotions. So that'll be interesting. That'll be cool to see how it switches up the dynamic. I am interested to see the story. I do still believe in Pixar, even though they've had a few misses now and then, recently especially. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll say that I'm looking forward to it. I think Pete Docter is directing it, which gives me a lot of hope because he's one of like the greats of Pixar. Yeah, I am bummed that Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling aren't back. That sucks, but their new voices are just fine. You don't really notice a huge difference. I think Tony Hale is doing Fear, so that's cool. I love Tony Hale. Yeah, that's out June 14th. So yeah, look out for that one. That might be a summer review I might do. And I will do summer reviews next year. I will do that. I know Austin and I said that we were going to do summer reviews this year, and we didn't, but I will bring them back next year. Our next trailer. Let's keep the animation train running. Let's go into Chicken Run 2. This comes out December 15th. It's a sequel, surprisingly, to Chicken Run. And this one, it looks cool. It looks fun. I really like Aardman. I love their humor and their style of animation, claymation. Wallace and Gromit has such a special place in my heart. So that's going to be really cool. Their style of humor, which is basically just British humor, but for kids, it's so great. It's so witty, and it comes out in this trailer, and I really like that. I think it looks cool. There really isn't that much to say about this for me, at least, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it looks fun. It looks cute. That is out December 15th. Okay, let's go to the big trailers that we have for this week. Not to say that the others weren't big, but these are like superhero franchise type stuff. So let's start out with a Netflix movie, Rebel Moon. This is the new Zack Snyder film that I am sure all Zack Snyder fans are just so hyped about because they love all his movies. I don't love all his movies. There's a few I like. I did like Army of the Dead. Man of Steel. It's cool. It's good. But yeah. So let's get into this one. For those of you who don't know, this is a failed Star Wars pitch that Zack Snyder gave to Lucasfilm. They rejected it. He said, "Okay, I'm going to take it to Netflix and I'm going to make it." And this is the first of two parts of this basically space epic about an evil empire and the rebels who fight against them. And when I watched this trailer, I thought, I see why Lucasfilm rejected it. Not because it looks bad, not because it looks good, it's because it's Star Wars. It's the exact same thing, and I'm sure Lucasfilm didn't want to say, hey, let's not just remake A New Hope. So yeah, it's about a farm girl who joins a rebellion against this evil empire, and it looks like Zack Snyder went to a boardroom and said, "Guys, what if Star Wars was dark and gritty?" And that's what he did. That's not saying it's a bad thing, but it doesn't feel original. And for me, that is a bad thing. I would like an original space opera. And by all accounts, this could be. It's a two-parter, so we're not even getting the full thing yet. But yeah, it's very clearly a Snyder film. Also, you get the slow-mo, you get the dark, gritty tone with some so-so dialogue. At least in the trailer. But yeah, I can't say this trailer grabbed me. I was excited, not excited, but looking forward to seeing it before the trailer. Now, I'm not so much. I'll still see it. I'll probably review it. But yeah, for now, I don't really have a lot of high hopes. Did you watch it? What did you think? I I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people who really like this trailer, but it wasn't for me, especially that one action scene in the trailer. They just kept cutting to black, and that was very frustrating for me because I'm like, I want to see this, but you're not showing it to me because you think it looks cool. And then, but it doesn't look cool. It looks like you're just trying to be cool. And yeah, so whatever. I'll figure it out once the movie comes out. December 15th. Yeah. Or December 22nd. December 15th is Chicken Run. Man, Netflix back-to-back weeks. Another Netflix film is Damsel. This is a Millie Bobby Brown film. I think she produced it. Man, it is so weird seeing someone who was a preteen in Stranger Things, who is now producing films. It's like, yes, acting in film is one thing, but producing it, that's insane. So good on her. But this looks like to be a medieval sort of epic, kind of like Lord of the Rings, like that sort of time period type of thing, fantasy, about this princess who is, I think, going through a trial of just challenges that a lot of princesses, or I guess women in the things she's trying out for, have done. And yeah, so this trailer doesn't give a whole lot of the story, but it gives a lot of the world and what it is promising to the viewer of, this is what you are going to experience as you watch this film. And I just gotta say, it looks good. I really liked the tone that this trailer was giving, especially the song choice. It was one of those slowed down songs, which usually doesn't work, but it worked here. At least for me. In my notes, I said it looks epic, but more importantly, it feels epic. You can really feel the scale they're going for, which I really like. It does a really good job of introducing this world. There's a lot of different clans, maybe hidden societies too. And yeah, it looks really cool. Like I said, doesn't give a lot of the story, but for a teaser sort of thing, that's fine. They don't have to give us the story. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Beforehand, I thought, yeah, it's a new Millie Bobby Brown movie. I'll see when it comes out, but I don't have any strong feelings either way. But now I'm looking forward to it. I think it looks cool. No release date yet for this, but it's out in 2024, so it'll be out at some point. Okay. Next trailer, which we do have a release date for, and it's coming sooner than we thought. And that's What If? About 5 minutes before I started this podcast, I was watching the trailer for Rebel Moon, and I looked in the suggested bar that YouTube has, and it said, What If? New trailer. And I groaned. Not because I didn't like What If, it was because it was another trailer to talk about, and I already had so many. But I watched it, and I gotta say, it looks cool. It looks fun. I was a fan of the first What If season. I thought it was really cool. I liked how separated they all were, and even when they brought them together for the final, I believe, 2 episodes, it still fit for me. I still really liked it. I thought they brought it together in a cool and interesting, unique way. For this season, I hope they keep it separate. I hope it's purely anthology based, because I think that'd be cool. But yeah, it looks like they're giving us a lot of stories this time, a lot of varying stories. You got like a street race episode, you got a Christmas episode. I don't even want to guess what the what ifs are. I think one of them is what if Happy saved Christmas, which you see at the end of the trailer. But yeah, animation still looks really cool. I love the style they're going for. A lot of the stories that it looks like they're teasing seem to be original and not like the Marvel Zombies thing, which honestly was an episode I didn't care for in the first season, but a lot of people liked, which more power to you. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, and that comes out December 22nd, and they're trying something new with this one. I think it looks I think it seems cool. They're doing a new episode every single day. So for 9 days we're going to get a new episode of What If. I think that's a smart idea. What If is not a show that should be dropped all at once because you do want to sit with each episode, but having them a week apart kind of loses people's interest in it because it is this like little bite-sized just anime thing to have fun with. So having it like one day at a time, I think is a good compromise between the two. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably gonna just sit down every day and just watch them. And yeah, so yeah, that looks cool. Have you seen the trailer? Let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Okay, the final, and I promise, final trailer to talk about today is another Marvel property. Not the MCU, maybe, unless Sony wants it to be in the MCU and they might force their way in. But it's a Sony Marvel movie from the masterminds behind Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and Morbius. Comes Madam Web. Yeah, it's another Sony Marvel movie. It usually for a trailer I try to give a like brief breakdown of like what is this movie, and I don't think I can tell you what this movie is. It's Dakota Johnson plays Madam Web. I didn't catch her name, so I'm just gonna call her Madam Web, who is this I forgot EMT. She's the EMT who died but then was resurrected, and now she can see the future. And Adam Scott is in it, and I think he plays Peter Parker's dad, so that's cool. And because she can see into the future, she can stop crimes, and then she gets superhuman abilities. And then there's other spider people in it, played by a whole like criminals row of female actors like Sydney Sweeney, and I forget who else. But yeah, it looks interesting, I guess. Um, yeah, I do think the action that they showed at the very beginning, it looked cool. It looked well choreographed, interestingly directed. I don't want to say like well directed, but it looks like they're trying something new, something fresh, which I like. I appreciate. Um, yeah, this trailer looks so convoluted. Just from the trailer alone, it from like the bad guy who is met Dakota Johnson through her mom because he went to the Amazon with her mom because she was studying spiders and he was there with her, which doesn't make sense. It might in the context of the film, but they got to that and I just yelled out, "What?" Because what? And the song choice in the trailer. That song, like the Billie Eilish song, I forget what it's called, but it for me it didn't fit what the trailer was trying to do. And so I don't know what this movie is going to be. I want it to be good because more good movies are always awesome, but who knows because it's a Sony Marvel movie, and at least for me, they're bad and negative right now. They have not made a good movie since Venom, and I mean Venom I didn't like, but yeah, so I'm not looking forward to that. Who knows? Have you watched it? Let me know what you thought of the trailer. But until then, it's out February 14th, so a good Valentine's Day film. Hey baby, want to see Madam Web? Yeah, we'll see. We'll find out. So yeah, those are all the trailers for today. It's a lot. Maybe next week there won't be as much. Maybe there'll be even more next week. Who knows? But until then, let's get into some reviews for today. I got 2 reviews for you, both MCU. The Marvels and Loki. I wanted to watch The Killer that came out this past weekend too, but I didn't have any time to see it. And maybe if I see it this week, I'll give a little mini review next week. But yeah, so these are the 2 things I'm going to be reviewing today. And let's start with Loki. I have not talked about Loki at all this season because I wanted to save my thoughts for a just big season-wide review. So here it is. I want to start out with saying I love season 1 of Loki. It's probably, it's my favorite Marvel TV show so far. And I just thought it was really well written. It felt tight. And the characters, especially Loki and Mobius, were just so well developed and thought out. And Sylvie too. Sylvie was a great character. And so going into this, I had really high hopes. In the first 2 episodes, my thoughts were dampened a little bit, to be honest. I wasn't a huge fan of what they were doing. I still liked it. I still liked what we were doing, but it felt like it wasn't going a whole lot of places. And some of the things they were doing with like time travel, it didn't fully add up for me, especially with the rules that they established in the first season. But I thought, you know what? They'll address it, so I won't worry about it. It turns out they didn't really address a lot of it this season. Overall, I really liked it. Because as the episodes went on, I got a grasp of what they were doing and what they were going for, and I said, okay, I like this route they are going, especially when it comes to the characters. Loki, Mobius, I forget the one security guard's name because it's like a bunch of numbers. I'm like, you can't just give her a name. But I think his name is Clancy, but then Obi, even Victor Timely, they're all great. They all have such a great dynamic. I was like, this is such a like fun ragtag group of people that I just want to see interact, and I could just see them interact all day. And I thought that was really cool. But especially just Loki in his development, because we got so much in the first season of his glorious purpose and what is that and what does that mean for him. And then in this season, we delve even deeper into that. And I thought that was really cool. We delve deeper into Mobius, who we just found out that he was taken from the timeline. He was kidnapped, basically. And how does he reckon with that? Does he just stay where he is? Does he try to figure out who he was, who he is? Are those the same thing? Are they not? Who is he now? And they really play with that a lot, and they go to interesting places with it. No spoilers, by the way, for this season. I do want to say one of the disappointing things is Sylvie. She played such a big role in the first season, and then in this, she's toned back a little bit. She's not in it as much, and she doesn't really get a lot to do. It's disappointing, and her development feels a little forced and rushed, and I want more of her, and especially her dynamic with Loki, because it was so interesting in the first season, except for the kind of like romantic tension between them, which they completely took out this season, which, even though I wasn't a huge fan of it in the first season, it's like, if you're going to set it up, at least follow through. But it felt like the writers like took the criticism of the first season and it was like, all right, we'll just drop it all together. They're friends. They're just friends. Even though I thought it was like a weird but interesting way to go about Loki loving himself because he has hated himself for so long. But yeah, anyway, I really like this season. It's one of those Marvel things that it doesn't have a lot of action for a Marvel superhero show, but I liked that. It delved, or it just dealt more with the writing and the plot more than just having these action scenes. And even when they did have action scenes, some of them were really cool and really interesting. Like, I believe the third episode when they went back in time to, I think, the 1800s. But so, and even some of the action scenes I didn't even like, and I didn't care for it. Like, I believe it was the second episode with this group of rebels from the TVA planting bombs, and it felt so out of nowhere, and it felt like they were just trying to add filler to the episode to get it to a certain length. And yeah, so I didn't even like all the action scenes, which, I mean, it's good then because they didn't have a lot. I do want to say I do think a lot of the plot lines weren't followed through on with this season. I kind of wish there were more episodes so they could deal with that. Like, they ask a lot of questions about what the TVA truly is. How does it operate outside of time? Is that true? Is that false? And they just ask the question, leave it. They don't answer it. They set up some things, especially in the 5th episode, that I thought was really interesting and really cool. But they go in a different direction in the 6th episode, which was still great and honestly fantastic. But at the end of the day, I was thinking, well, then why would you set things up like that in the 5th episode if you're going to do something completely different in the 6th? So, yeah, there was a whole lot of setup and not a lot of follow through in a few of these episodes, which was disappointing. But overall, I do really like this season. I think it's strong. It's one of the stronger things we've had in Marvel recently. And yeah, I encourage you all to watch it because it's very much worth watching. And yeah, if I had to give this a score, I'd probably give it maybe an 80 out of 100. I just think it had really good writing, even though I do have complaints about it. What they did follow through on and what they did set up was interesting. What's cool, it felt natural to these characters and where they would be at right now. So yeah, have you watched season 2 of Loki? What have you thought about it? Let me know if you're watching on YouTube in the comments down below. Okay, let's move on to another MCU project. And that's the Marvels. The newest, I think 33rd film in the MCU, Phase 5. Marvel hasn't been doing that well recently. For me, I did not like Thor. I didn't like Doctor Strange. Didn't like Ant-Man. I did like Guardians, but I didn't watch Secret Invasion because I didn't care for it. I heard the reviews were all bad, and so I thought, you know what? Cool concept, but if you didn't execute, I'm not going to watch it. I even tried watching a little bit before the Marvels, and I didn't like what I saw, so I just stopped. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Marvels. So, just a little preamble. MCU isn't in a good spot right now, even though they do have some good stuff like Loki. So I went into this with not the highest expectations. I wasn't expecting anything like outstanding or great, but I was at least hoping for a fun, good time. And I did not get that for this movie. For those of you who don't know, this is a sort of sequel to Captain Marvel that took place in the 90s. This is present day, or present day for the MCU. It follows Captain Marvel, Captain Rambeau, and Miss Marvel, and they somehow become intertwined with their powers, where almost any time one of them uses their powers, they switch places, and that creates a lot of hijinks and problems for them that they have to fix. And because of that, they kind of form into a team, and they have to stop this evil villain from doing evil stuff. And yeah, that's about it. As I was talking about Loki, I talked about the characters and how that was a really strong aspect of that show. And for the Marvels, that should have been a very strong aspect for it, but it unfortunately wasn't. The only character that I thought was really good and really strong was Miss Marvel, because Iman Vellani does such a great job with her character. She is just a star. She exudes energy in her performance, and you can just tell she's having the time of her life being in this big budget MCU movie. And it really shows on screen, and you feel it. And when she's having fun, you're having fun. But that's about it as far as it goes for the characters, because This movie is a mess. It's very messy. The plot and the story are just all over the place. It feels like they had a complete movie that needed a costume made, but then in the editing room, they just took out so much and they stitched together what they could and they spit out a barely coherent movie. And they just left it. They said, "You know what? We do have like key moments that are key to not only the characters and their development, either on their own or with each other, and their dynamics and story beats are important, but we are going to take that out because it's either not good, it's not shot well, or it doesn't make sense, or we just didn't want it in it for some reason." And yeah, so because of that, this movie is just a mess. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially the villain. The villain in this, Darbin, I believe is her name. Not only is she just a one-note villain who not only doesn't get a lot to do, but what she does have, she doesn't do much with. And her motivation is so bad. I was wondering why they didn't show it in the trailer, and it's for a reason. It's, I guess, light spoilers, but her whole thing is that she wants to take the resources of one planet and transplant it to her planet, because her planet is devoid of resources for reasons that are interesting in the movie. It brings up interesting questions and conflict with Captain Marvel because she's involved in some way in that planet, and yet they don't follow through with it. They just drop it and they're like, yeah, whatever. But she wants to take the resource of one planet and put it in hers. And in the big first conflict scene where we see her power, she takes the atmosphere of one planet and puts it in hers. And I am no scientist. Believe me, I do not have a PhD. I do not even have a degree yet. But I don't think that works. I don't think you can just take the atmosphere of one place and put it in another. If that was true, we'd probably be on Mars right now. But we're not. We're on Earth. Because you can't take an atmosphere and put it in another place. You can't take an ocean and put it on your planet and expect your people to survive because that they need fresh water and an ocean is salt water. That doesn't make sense. And yet they do it. I was dumbfounded when I found out that is the villain's whole plan, because it just doesn't make sense and it's messy. And yeah, the story is just so bland. It doesn't go anywhere, and it's so disappointing because you have these three characters who are interesting on their own, and then you bring them together and it calls for very interesting dynamics with Captain Marvel, still trying to figure out who she is and dealing with what she's done in her past and still figuring out what her past is, and her relationship with Captain Rambeau, who she hadn't seen since she was a little girl, and now Rambeau is all grown up and doing her own thing, and how do they interact with each other now? But they just don't do a whole lot with it. And then Iman Vellani, she's trying her best, but the material she's given is just, it's not great. And it's so disappointing. I do want to say there are fun moments in this. There's a few action scenes that I think are very well choreographed, very fun. They play with that shtick that they have with the not power switching, but place shifting. Especially in a scene early in the film, in that involves Miss Marvel's house. That was a very fun sequence. It was very light and just really cool to watch. Very fun. There's a lot of humor in the film that I think works. It works very well, actually. It's a very funny film. I did have a good time watching moments, and I had good laughs. Weirdly enough, especially from Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, which he's funny in it, but even then, it didn't make sense for Nick Fury to be the one cracking all these jokes, because almost every other line he had was a joke, And it wasn't like Nick Fury jokes, it was Samuel L. Jackson jokes. And it felt like it didn't fit with the character because he's had jokes in the past, but they've been more like dry humor. But this was just like Marvel humor, and I don't know, it was funny. It was still like fun and good, but it didn't fit the character, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, this whole movie is just disappointing overall. Even the whole shtick of the power switching, they don't go all the way with it. They have a few moments where they do it and they struggle with it. They have this montage where it seems like they figure it out, but then the very next action scene, they don't have it figured out. And then by the end, they just forget about it. They still have this problem, but in the very last action scene when they're fighting Darwin, they don't switch once. I was keeping track, and they don't switch one time, unless I'm wrong, unless I missed something. But it seems like they just completely forgot about it at the end, which is where I talk about it feels like they are just cutting key moments. And I heard there was like a lot of reshoots in this film, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but you can tell like which parts are reshoots. Um, so yeah, it was very disappointing. Um, if you can't tell, I didn't like this movie. They even have like things at the end which set up interesting things for the rest of the MCU, but I don't think was executed well. It didn't feel natural to the film. It felt like it was either a Kevin Feige thing or just a like Marvel executive thing where it's like, you know what, we have to set up something for the future, so let's just throw this in and like make the actors come in for a reshoot, shoot it, put it on film, we're done. Because what they have, it's like it's interesting, but it doesn't feel cohesive with the rest of the film. And so yeah, the whole movie is just disappointing. Um Miss Marvel's parents and brother, they're great in it, like the show. Miss Marvel and her family really is the big highlight for this for me. I probably would see it again if only for that and maybe some action scenes. But I would just skip it around like everything else. There are even other fun moments. Like there's a whole like musical number that is just so cut short. And this is a short movie. It's like an hour 40, which is the shortest Marvel movie. And then when you add the credits on it, it's maybe like 95 minutes. So you can tell they clearly cut a lot out of this film. And I don't know why, because if they kept everything in, it probably wouldn't have made it a great movie, but more things could have made sense. Maybe Darwin could have had more development because her reasoning for wanting to do this stupid plan, and it is stupid, but she has valid points of like, you know what, Captain Marvel, you messed me up. You messed my whole planet up. So I'm gonna do stuff to planets you like. And but they didn't. They just cut around. There's a whole lot of convenience in the plot too, especially when it comes to the Marvels and them figuring out what's next in Darwin's plans. So yeah, I can't recommend this one, unfortunately. I'd probably give it a 30, 32, 33 out of 100. Don't go see this unless wait for it on Disney Plus. Do that. Because yeah, like I said, there's fun moments. There's some cool stuff, but overall, it's just a very messy, incoherent movie. And yeah, it's unfortunate. I can't really say I have a whole lot of hope for the rest of the MCU. I do think it's good that they are seemingly cutting back and reevaluating a lot of stuff that they're doing. Because next year we only have Deadpool 3 coming out as a film, which I think is good. Give us a little break from the MCU. Let us refresh. You guys refresh, reevaluate what you are doing, and what you should be doing, and take it from there. Maybe even cancel some projects or rework them. Because a lot of the MCU recently hasn't been the best, and they just need a just Monday night recap, Monday morning recap. I don't know football or sports, but what they do after the game to reevaluate. They should do that. But yeah, have you seen the film? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you have the same thoughts as me, different thoughts? Let me know if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're not watching on YouTube, thank you so much anyway for listening. So yeah, that'll do it for this episode of That's a Wrap. Next week, I will be reviewing The Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. There are 4 movies coming out in theaters alone next week. I think there's even a few on Netflix here and there, and maybe like Hulu, Amazon, whatever. I'm going to see what I can. I will definitely see Hunger Games, but I might see Next Will Wins. I might see Thanksgiving. I think that looks cool. That looks interesting. Probably won't see Trolls, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, be on the lookout at least for a review of Hunger Games. If you like this episode and you want more, you can check me out at That's a Wrap NCR on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where all of my episodes are listed. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. So check it out. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's a longer one because there's a lot to talk about. But yeah, let me know what you thought of any of the things I talked about. But until next time, that's a wrap.